Right, let's get into it because there's a storm of Celtic news swirling and we're diving headfirst into all of it. Even with a bit of a sore throat, nothing stopping the chat today. And let's be honest, Celtic never sleeps. The matches, the transfers, the rumors, the drama. It's a full-time job just keeping up. We'll start with the B team because they've been making some noise in the Lowland League. Last night was their second outing of the new campaign, and what a wild one it was. A 6-goal thriller away from home, finishing 3-3 against Civil. Service strollers. It was all happening after the interval. 6 goals in the second half alone. Thomas Hatton, better known as Tam to his teammates, bagged a brace, and Emmanuel Obadiwi got his name on the score sheet as well. So that's 4 points from a possible 6 to kick off the season. Not a bad return, and Stephen McManus will no doubt be looking to build from there. And just as we're wrapping our heads around that madness, there's already talk about a new structure in the works for the Lowland League. From next season, the Scottish FA's plan is to split it into 2 divisions, Lowland League East and Lowland League West. That'll run alongside the Highland League, and together they'll make up the 5th tier of Scottish football. It actually makes a fair bit of sense geographically. There are far more teams in the Lowland setup compared to the Highland, and this move should balance things out a bit. For Celtic B, this means we'd be slotted into the Western Division naturally. It's not a massive change on the surface, but over the course of a season, that shift could make a real difference to travel rivalries and overall league dynamics. Now let's shift gears. Champions League territory. Last night gave us 5 ties, 5 results, and 5 more pieces to the jigsaw that is the playoff round draw. Kazakh side TAC pulled off a bit of a surprise and knocked out QPS, which would have been an interesting matchup had Rangers been involved. Dinamo Zagreb moved past Hammer and Sparta, and Slovan Bratislava saw off Zrinski Copenhagen, dealt with Drida, and Crvena Zvezda beat Lincoln Red Imps. So what does all this mean for Celtic? Well, several teams we can't face are now confirmed. Copenhagen and Crvena Zvezda were already off the table for us as potential opponents, and now the teams they're set to face next, like Malmo and Lech Poznan, the latter home to our very own Lewis Palmer, are also out of the running. So, yeah, if you were daydreaming about a dramatic reunion between Celtic and Lewis Palmer, complete with all the headlines and heated subplots that would have come with it, that's off the table. We'll need to look elsewhere for our narrative spice. As it stands, we're narrowing down the field. There are still a handful of ties yet to be played tonight, but we're getting closer to knowing the full list of potential opponents. One thing's now certain though. Basel and Sturm Graz will be unseeded in Monday's draw, which officially makes them potential opponents for us. Not ideal, but not catastrophic either. It's the Champions League. There are no easy paths. Now let's get into the meat of what's really stirring the pot among the support right now. The transfer situation. Starting with Marco Tilio. Reports coming out of Austria suggest Rapid Vienna are keen, but Celtic are slamming the brakes. The word is that Tilio won't be allowed to leave until we've secured a replacement on the wing. That pushes any potential move into the latter part of the window, possibly right up to the deadline. Makes sense, really. Brendan Rodgers doesn't want to be left short, especially with options already thin on the flanks. And while that doesn't necessarily mean Tilio is central to Rodgers' plans, it's clear that we can't afford to lose another wide man without bolstering first. Let's not kid ourselves either, the wings are a bit of a sore spot, right? Now, Tilio Yang, James Forrest, and Dyson Maeda. And that's pretty much it. So unless Brendan's planning on pulling someone from the academy or redeploying someone out of position, we're working with limited firepower, out wide. And speaking of Yang, the story's shifting quickly there too. Norwich City was sniffing around, but have now backed away from the table. Legia Warsaw are still said to be interested, but Brendan's made his stance fairly clear. He understands Yang's frustrations, not being a nailed-in starter, feeling a bit unsettled, but he still believes the player can be valuable this season. With the right support, Yang could thrive. Personally, I hope he stays. He's raw, no doubt about it, but there's quality there. And in a squad crying out for depth, letting someone like that walk away feels risky. Now, let's talk Jakob Brüm. This saga's been bubbling away for a while now. The go-ahead Eagles midfielder, or attacker depending on who you ask, has reportedly been the subject of multiple bids from Celtic, all knocked back. The Dutch club's general manager has been vocal in the press, trying to justify their steep valuation. They're asking for around 7 million euros, which is quite a jump, considering their record sale to date was about 4 million. But they're pointing at transfers like Ruben van Barmel's move to PSV for 15 million and asking why they can't aim higher. On one hand, you can see their logic. If the market's inflated, why sell cheap? But on the other hand, Broom is not a wide player. Let's clear that up right now. A lot of outlets in Scotland have been calling him a winger, but having watched him play and read plenty of scouting reports, he's a number 10. He's a central attacking midfielder. Yes! He's occasionally played on the left, but it's clear his strengths are in the middle. So that raises a big question. Why is Celtic chasing another central midfielder? We've got Callum McGregor, Odin Thiago Holm, Paolo Bernardo, Matt O'Reilly, Rayo Hatare, and even Daniel Kelly knocking on the door. That's 6 decent options for 3 spots. Unless someone's on their way out, and let's be honest, we're all a bit twitchy about Rayo Hatare, it's hard to justify throwing 7 million at a player who doesn't fill a glaring need. Unless Brendan sees him as a long-term replacement or a project to be molded into something different. Maybe he thinks Broom can adapt to a wider role. Maybe he just wants more creativity through the middle. But right now, when we're desperate for a right winger and a striker, it's hard not to feel like the focus is a bit off. And look, while we're on the topic of wings, let's revisit Michel-Ange Balikwisha. Remember him? Yeah, it's gone quiet, dead quiet. Check the Belgian media earlier today and not a single update in over 2 days. For a deal that was supposed to be moving, it feels like it's fizzled out. He's more of a left-sided winger anyway, and we've already got options there. What we don't have is someone to own that right wing position. Nicholas Kuhn was our starter there for the second half of last season, including the Scottish Cup final. He's gone now, and the gap he's left hasn't been filled. There was some early buzz about Isaac Jensen, but he ended up signing for Nice. Jacob Brom's been floated, but again, not a winger. So we're still left wondering, where is our right-sided solution coming from? And if you're after a striker update, let's talk about Louis Munteanu. The Cluj forward is hot property right now, especially back home in Romania, where his name is all over the sports pages. Celtic reportedly tabled a bid just shy of £7 million, but Cluj are holding out for 15. That's a massive gap. Feels like one of those where we might eventually meet somewhere in the middle, say 11 or 12 million, but even that would be a big swing for us. Still, you look at his goal record and you can't help but be tempted. He scores, and he scores consistently. A signing like Munteanu could instantly elevate our attack. Imagine having a real presence through the middle again, someone who can link play, bully defenders, and bang in goals. That's exactly what we've been missing. If the club really want him, and Cluj aren't being totally unreasonable, then get it done. Alright, let's keep this rolling because there's still a mountain of Celtic stories to sift through, and some of them are flying under the radar. The one that caught a lot of attention lately is Jamai Simpson-Pusey. You might not know the name off the top of your head, but trust me, he's a player Celtic are actively trying to bring in. He's a centre-back just 20 years old, coming through the ranks at Manchester City, and by all accounts, he's ready to make the jump into senior football. Reports from Manchester suggest Celtic are leading the race ahead of several championships. Our clubs in England to get Simpson-Pusey on loan. And here's the key detail. This loan was being lined up before last season even ended. City knew he needed a proper challenge, not just sitting around in Premier League 2 or the under-21s. He's outgrown that level, and now it's about finding a club where he can play real minutes under real pressure. That's where Celtic come in. We've got the profile. We're playing European football, we're competing on all domestic fronts, and we've got gaps in defense. If the pitch to him is come up here, start regularly, and test yourself in front of 60,000 fans, that's a strong sell. And let's not forget, we've had a good working relationship with City for years now. The Patrick Roberts and Jason Denayer deals spring to mind. So this isn't just a rumor pulled from thin air. Now a lot of folk are hoping there'll be a purchase option in that deal, something long term. But here's the thing, and let's just be realistic. City rarely let their top academy players go for cheap. Even lads who've never sniffed the first team have been sold for 10, 15, sometimes 20 million. And Simpson-Pusey has already made appearances for City's senior side in cup competitions. If this deal happens, and I think it will, we're probably looking at a straight loan. Maybe with a discussion about a future deal, but nothing nailed on. Would that be ideal? No. But would it improve the squad today? Absolutely. Especially if he can strike up a proper partnership with Cameron. Carter Vickers. Of course, Austin Trusty's there too, and fair play to the lad. He's impressed in preseason, but depth and competition are non-negotiables in a long campaign. Simpson Pusey could push standards even higher. On a similar note, there's been some noise about Stefan Bajcetic from Liverpool. Now, this one I'm far more skeptical about. The story is that he's set to go out on loan again. He was at Salzburg for the first half of last season, then Las Palmas for the second, and Celtic have been linked as a destination. But let's be clear, I've not seen a single reliable source back this up. Nothing from Liverpool's end, nothing credible from the Scottish media. It smells like one of those classic transfer Twitter specials. Someone posts a rumor it gets picked up snowballs, and suddenly it's being treated as gospel. What's more, Mark Hendry, who usually has a decent read on these things, has said flat out there's been no contact between Celtic and Liverpool over Bajcetic. So yeah, if you're holding your breath on that one, I'd probably stop. Would he fit? Maybe. He's more of a holding midfielder, someone who could deputize for McGregor. But again, nothing concrete, just background noise. Now, as always with Celtic in the transfer window, the clock is ticking. The Scottish window shuts on Monday, the 1st of September, which is actually the day after the Ibrox clash, just to add a bit more drama. And there's a slight twist this year. The window closes at 7 p.m. Celtic Park time, a bit earlier than usual. No more deadline day midnight madness. Probably better for everyone's blood pressure. But here's the deadline that really matters. Thursday, the 14th of August, 11 p.m. That's when UEFA closes the list for squad registrations for the Champions League playoff round. We've got up until that point to register new signings. If we want them all eligible, and we can still register 2 more players up until the night before the first leg. So while the domestic window drags on for Europe, the timeline's much tighter. That puts pressure on the board, no question. If we want a right winger, a striker, or maybe a centre back to make an immediate impact in the playoff, they got about 2 weeks to get it over the line. And here's the truth. Celtic need to be aggressive now. We can't afford to coast into another European tie half prepared. We've seen this story before, and it doesn't end well. Yes, we've been linked with 10 different players this summer. Some realistic, others total fiction. But the areas we need to fix haven't changed. We still need a right winger. We still need a striker. And with Starfelt gone, another centre-back is a must. We've spoken already about Montano from Cluj, the striker with a strong record and a hefty price tag. Celtic reportedly bid just under 7 million Cluj, are holding out for 15. That's a massive gap. But again, if the player is as good as the reports suggest, there's a deal to be done. 11 or 12 million feels like the number that gets it done. And yeah, that's a big outlay. But that's the kind of signing that could immediately lift the whole front line. Someone who finishes chances, leads the line, and brings real danger. That's what we're missing. It's not a luxury signing, it's a necessity. Same goes for the right wing. We lost Kuhn and we've not replaced him. Forrest isn't a long-term solution. Yang is promising but inconsistent. There's a gaping hole there, and no sign Celtic are closing in on anyone to fill it. There were a few whispers about Michelangelo Balikwisha, but like we said earlier, that trail's gone cold. It's been days without a single credible update. It's hard not to feel like that one's dead in the water, and that honestly is the worry with this window. There are clear priorities, but we're not seeing enough urgency in how they're being addressed. We've gone in for Broom, who plays in a position we're arguably already stacked in. We're holding on to Tilio not because he's in the plans, but because we've got no other wingers to take his place. We're linked to central midfielders when the wing and striker roles are crying out for investment. There's still time, but the days are slipping by fast. And while Brendan Rodgers is clearly trying to steady the ship, he needs help from the recruitment side. It's no good having the right ideas and not the tools to implement them. The fans see it. The players feel it. If we don't get reinforcements in now, we risk stumbling out of Europe before the group stages have even begun. And look, we know this squad has quality. McGregor's still bossing games. O'Reilly is coming into his own. Hatate, if he stays, is one of the most technically gifted players in the league. But the margins in the Champions League are razor thin. A missing piece can cost you a game, 1 weak link, and you're punished. We've got to be proactive. We got to be bold. And we got to stop treating the market like we're shopping at a closing sale, hoping to scoop a bargain in. The last 5 minutes, Simpson Pusey on loan, that's smart business. But it can't be the headline signing. Munteanu up front, that's ambition. A proper right winger, that's balance. Without those moves, we're heading into one of the biggest months of the season undercooked. So the next 2 weeks are absolutely crucial. And if the board have any ambition of not just defending the domestic title, but making a splash in Europe, it's time to prove it. Because this team is close. Not complete, but close. Just a few sharp signings away from being something genuinely dangerous. Let's see if Celtic act like a club that knows it. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. It's the kind of chatter that stirs all whiskey-drinking men fray their chairs and has punters leaning close to pub counters across the central belt. Words got a note, and if there's even a lick of truth to it, we could be staring down the barrel of the most controversial domestic poaching in recent times. Oh, you heard it. Celtic are being linked with none other than Hearts' golden boy, Lawrence Shankland. No, even the harshest Edinburgh rain could wash away the murmur growing louder in the East End of Glasgow. Shankland, scorer, leader, and near-mythic figure for the Jambos faithful, may be eyeing a parkhead switch that would send shockwaves through Tynecastle and beyond. While nothing's official yet, certain well-placed whispers suggest talks may have quietly begun behind closed doors, with a hoops kindy pip their rivals to the lad they never thought they'd lose. Some say Celtic see Shankland as the answer to a question they've long been asking. Who's the next reliable, homegrown non-9 to lead the line with pride and fire? Kyogo remains a fan favorite, sure, but with injuries and form sometimes dipping, it's nae surprise Brendan Rodgers is looking close to home for reinforcements. And Shankland? He's nae just another striker, he's Scotland's current hitman, a composed finisher, leader of men, and the kind of battler who plays like every game's his last. But it's not just a matter of football in need. Some suggest there's a wee bit of psychological warfare at play. Celtic nicking Hearts' starman midsummer. That'd be as bold as it gets. A move they shake the confidence of a team many consider dark horses for a serious push this season. It'd be a flex, plain and simple. And didn't forget, the boys are keen to reassert domestic dominance after a campaign that left many asking questions. Tynecastle, predictably, is in uproar at the mere notion. Social media is aflame with Jambos demanding clarity, calling for the board to hold firm. But the reality is painful. Shankland's contract isn't forever, and if Celtic are willing to part with a sum that turns heads, Hearts may find their resolve tested. One source even hinted the player's agent's been spotted near Glasgow in recent weeks. Coincidence? Perhaps. Or perhaps not. Let's be clear. There's nae confirmation frae either club. Celtic has ever remained tight-lipped on transfer dealings, and Hearts are understandably keen to keep a lid on any disruption before the season's properly underway. But as the saying goes, there's rarely smoke without fire, and this fire's beginning to roar. From a footballing point of view, it's easy to see the logic. Shankland at 29 is in the prime of his career. He bagged goals for fun last season and showed he could do it against anyone, not just the wee teams. More importantly, he's got the mentality Celtic crave. Gritty, unfazed, and with a swagger that belongs on a bigger stage. Rodgers, known for backing mature talents who can handle pressure, would likely see him as a plug-and-play solution. The bigger question is how Shankland himself feels. A Glasgow lad by birth, some claim he grew up leaning green, though that's never been confirmed. What is known, though, is he's fiercely ambitious. He wants trophies, Europe, maybe even a chance to test himself south of the border. A move to Celtic ticks a few of those boxes, but at what cost? He's adored at Hearts. The armband's his, and he's got a team built to ruin him. Still, in this game, loyalty rarely beats opportunity. If Celtic come knocking, few can resist. And if this rumor gains legs, we could be seeing one of the summer's most explosive sagas unfolding in plain sight. Hearts fans best brace themselves. The battle for Shankland might be just heating up. Only time will tell if this is mere pre-season smoke or the first sign of a firestorm brewing in Scottish football. But one thing's certain, if the boys really have made their move, it's more than just a transfer. It's a statement. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.